learn about pollination. So before we learn about pollination, we need to learn about the important parts of the flower. So there are four main parts of a flower. They are the sepal, petal, stamen and carpel. So the sepal, when the flower is a bud, the sepal protects it, and when it's big enough, and the sepal leans back. And the petals are mostly large and bright and have amazing fragments in the flower. And they're just beautiful. So then the stamen. The stamen has mainly two parts. They are the anther and the filament. The anther is covered by it has a swollen part because it is covered by pollens, and then the filament supports the anther. And then at last the carpel. The carpel is the female part, and it has three main parts, which is the stigma, style, and ovary. The stigma is the upper part, which is sticky to capture the pollen grains, and the style supports the whole part and connects the stigma to the ovary. The ovary has small parts which are called the ovules, which later will turn into seeds, and the whole ovary will turn into a fruit. So all the parts together of a flower work together to reproduce. So now we are going to learn about the perfect flowers and imperfect flowers. The perfect flowers have both stamen and carpel, but the imperfect flowers have one of those, which are the carpel or the stamen. Still, now we can talk about what is pollination. So pollination is a very important part of a flower's life cycle, because if this process wasn't in process, then even seeds cannot be formed. So pollination is a movement of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to the stigma of the same flower or another flower, but the flowers need to be the same kind, or else the pollen grains won't work. So the process of pollination. So the process of pollination begins when the pollen grains land on the stigma, and then it makes pollen tubes and reach to the ovary by the style. And then in the ovary they give fertilization, and all that they have got to the ovary and the ovules, and then the seed grows. The seed grows, and mostly the ovary grows and turns into a seed, which later turns into a new plant. So now we're going to talk about the types of pollination. There are mostly two types of pollination. They are the self-pollination and cross-pollination. The self-pollination is when from the one flower's anther, it goes to the same flower's stigma. It just flies away mostly, and it doesn't need any pollinators. So now we're going to learn about some advantages of self-pollination. The advantages are it is quite simple and very fast. It has very less wastage of pollen grains. There is no diversity of genes, and so it is pure, and there is no external factors or pollinators are needed. So the disadvantages are there is not, like, the new characters are not found in there. That's the only one mainly. So now we're going to talk about the cross-pollination. Cross-pollination is when the pollen grains of one of the anther goes into another flower's stigma. It can happen in both perfect flowers and imperfect flowers. Advantages of cross-pollination. So in cross-pollination, a new variety of fruits are formed, and imperfect flowers can reproduce by cross-pollination. And the disadvantages are it is quite complex and slow, and there are many pollen grains which are raised. and it really needs external factors. So now we're going to talk about the types of external pollination. So now, on the basis of the pollinating agents, cross-pollination is divided into 4 types. So therefore, these are hydrophilous. Hydrophilous flowers are mostly found in water, so they are pollinated by the water, as hydro means water. These flowers don't attract bees because they have not a good color or fragrance. There are very little of them, both. But did you know that here there is a very interesting thing, that the pollen grains are adopted to float in water. And this might how what some of them would look like. So now we're going to learn about the zoophilous flowers. The zoophilous flowers are pollinated by animals like bats and birds, etc. So anemophilous flowers. Anemophilous flowers are pollinated by the wind, and when the wind comes and it swoops over all the pollen grains, and here the flowers are very light and very small mostly. And the pollen grains are non-sticky. They are also light and sometimes also winged. So now we're going to talk about the entomophilous flowers. These flowers are pollinated by insects, insects like bees, butterflies, and these flowers should be very big, and the petals should be colorful, and they should have a good fragrance. So the bees and other insects, bees mostly, will get attracted to it. So here you can see this small picture to demonstrate. So these are all pollinators here, and these are sometimes a flower. So now I'm going to tell you some fun facts. So did you know that the word pollen means fertilizing plant of a part of a flower, and it came to use in the 1760s. Did you know that honeybees are the insects that pollinate most of the pollen grains? And did you know that black and white ruffed lemurs are the world's largest pollinators? So that's all for today. Repeat in the video.